Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Darren Dracone Plays. So, in this one, we will be playing Suzerain. It has been a while since I played Suzerain. However, they have a DLC out. This is the Kingdom of Rizia that we will be playing as this time around. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this. I did hear a few things about the Kingdom of Rizia and the new amendment update that has been done since the last time I played it. It adds a whole lot of content to Swordland now. I know there's more interactions with the PFJP. There's more interactions with the other parties as well. There's more interactions with the Blutish factions and stuff like that. But this time around, we'll be taking a look at the Kingdom of Rizia. So yeah, I don't know a whole lot about this other than the fact that there's a new war mechanic, and I believe there are royal decrees as opposed to just the builds and stuff that we had before. So, and I believe there's more of a focus on war this time around because there are some issues with the Grand Duchy of Pales. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into it, see how it goes, and go from there. Excuse me for my jank here. I'm just gonna name this one High. So, alrighty. So let's go ahead and come over here. All right, the Kingdom of Rizia, story DLC, semi-constitutional monarchy, about 40 million people. The state religion is that. Gas, gold, and wine are key exports. Starting date is 1950. King Ramis Taurus has ascended to the throne. His reign begins under geopolitical strife, contention between royal houses, and demands for the reclamation of lost lands. So let's jump into it. You haven't finished the main story. Starting a DLC story will automatically generate a default save file and finish the main story. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Monarch, your reign and your abode, your scepter and the orb you hold, and even the ground on which you trod, all will be dust when you are cold. Monkeys, Kingdom of Rizia. You open your eyes to this realm. Becoming a king was never your choice. What kind of king am I going to be? It was your burden. From a young age, you knew you were no ordinary child. You were Ramis Taurus, grandson of Queen Liza, ruler of all of Rizia, son of Crown Prince Valero and the Duke of Valencreus. For most of the year, you lived with your father, Valero, and your mother, Estala, in a lavish palace atop the cliffs of Monquis. Each summer, though, you visited your mother. Let's see, stayed with the queen at the royal residence in Port Drazen, went hunting with your father's brother Hugo. I am going to say visited your mother's common-born family, their home by the Zilla Harbor. Your grandparents were fisher people of modest means, and staying with them helped you feel grounded. Every autumn, you returned home a little wiser. It felt good to have caring relatives. Let's see. I'd say I returned home a little wiser. When Queen Liza died, the whole country grieved, but the mourning could only last for so long. There was a new king to crown. You remember two things about King Valero's coronation: the whispers that Hugo, now the Duke of Valencreus, was actually the rightful king, and the shouts of protesters outside the palace gates. Alone with your father after the ceremony, you... I will ask him about the protests. Your father laughed and told you that some people had come to believe Rizia shouldn't be ruled by a monarch anymore. But of course, he assured you they were wrong. I had my doubts. Life in Port Drazen was less exciting than you expected. You were tutored privately and rarely had contact with non-royals. At the palace, the closest person to your age was Pabel, the groundskeeper's son, a quiet but friendly kid who knew about every plant in the palace gardens. You quickly became close friends. When you came of age, your father invited you to start sitting in on royal council meetings. You decided, Mm, I'm going to go to university instead. At the prestigious University of Isa, you studied history, politics, and economics. Economics? Sure. To prepare for your eventual reign. In one of your classes, an argument broke out about Pales, a former part of Rizia that had long belonged to the Empire of Volgos. Now that the Empire had fallen, your father's government was launching a military campaign to take the newly independent region back. You thought it was a lost cause. As you continue your studies, the Pales campaign dragged on. It seemed like an easy victory until your northern neighbor Lesbia got involved, sending weapons and financial aid. Protests against the war sprouted up on campus. You asked your father to stop the bloodshed. Some troops were withdrawn, but the fire had been lit. The next day, class was interrupted by the announcement that the Navy had mutinied. Bloody clashes between pro and anti-monarchists were erupting across the country. The century of revolutions had reached Rizia at last. The king insisted you be driven back to the capital immediately. As you left Isa's city limits, though, an unmarked car swerved in front of you, blocking the road. A trio of masked men with guns jumped out, quickly overpowered your guards, and forced you out of the vehicle. You complied with their demands. You recognized one of the voices, Lucas Sazon, Duke of Brennus, and the head of Rizia's third royal house. A hood went over your head, then darkness. They held you captive for nearly a week. When rescue finally came, it was in the form of a man with a white, blue, and magenta flag on his fatigues. Wayland's flag. Huh. At the palace, you pieced together what had happened. In desperation, your father had pleaded for the aid of a neighboring country, Wayland, to neutralize the uprising. But their help came at a price. An agreement signed by both countries transferred ownership of the port of Zealy and its surrounding region to Wayland for the next 25 years. I'm just going to say I was just happy to be alive. The uprising had consequences. The traitor Lucas Sazon was executed and his pregnant wife sent into exile. As further punishment, Isa, the capital city of Brennus, and the Sazon ancestral home was handed over to your family. Your uncle Hugo was sent to serve as its steward, and you were to take his place as reigning Duke of Valenquiris. At your childhood home in Monquise, you did your best to help your region rebuild. Valenquiris came to see you as a generous, capable leader. One day, the king came for an unannounced visit. He brought with him a pale-skinned young woman with striking blue eyes. Hesitantly, she introduced herself as Lena Livingston, the sister of Queen Beatrice of Rumberg, and your wife-to-be. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about this. Yeah, good old Rumberg. Let me see. I'm going to... Should I be polite or kiss her hand to try and be romantic? I'll kiss her hand. King Valero told you that he had no choice. With Wayland descending into civil war, Rizia needed a new ally. A partnership with the Kingdom of Rumberg, cemented with an arranged marriage, was in the best interest of both monarchies. Besides, he added, you would surely grow to love her. He was right. You and Lena began having hours-long conversations about your royal upbringings, hopes, and dreams. By the time you lifted her veil, you knew it was true love. The years after your wedding and the birth of your daughter Vina was the happiest of your life. The only trouble was, you couldn't stop yourself from turning into Peter. Let's go with it being a husband and father distracted you from your royal obligations. With Rumberg's help, Rizia's economy bounced back to levels it hadn't seen since the glory days of Queen Liza. Wealthy Rumbergians started moving to the cities, so did the economic migrants from neighboring Morella and Deridia. In Wessex seeking asylum from the Civil War. You celebrated Rizia's new diversities. Yeah, let's go with that. Many of the foreigners ended up in the province of Brennus, where a nationalistic movement called Su began demanding that the king put Rizia above all. As the Duke of Isa, your uncle Hugo turned a blind eye to Su activities, while his teenage son Ricardus became a vocal supporter. Eventually, Ricardus, better known as Rico, approached you about speaking at one of the group's rallies, and I'm going to refuse because this sounds like a problem. You distanced yourself from the organization and from Rico. Your uncle was displeased but said nothing. You slowly realized that the uprising had broken something in your father. He began neglecting his duties as he became increasingly preoccupied with threats, both real and imaginary. Outside of the country, he gained a new nickname, Valero the Frail. Oh God, he's turning into King Ares. You found yourself under more and more pressure to make up for your father's shortcomings. Lena was patient and understanding, one of the many things you loved about her. For her 10th birthday, Vina asked to go on a sailing trip with the two of you. You, I'm gonna say happily came along. In the middle of the Gulf of Valenqueiris, the weather turned unexpectedly stormy. When the captain tried to turn the boat around, it was hit by a breaking wave and cracked in half. The Coast Guard got to you and your daughter on time, but by the time they pulled Lena out, she was barely breathing. They rushed her to the hospital. She died holding your hand. Oh God. You were devastated. After the funeral, your mother, Estella, came to visit and found you hardly able to function. She promptly moved in to help out with Vina. Hugo suggested you turn to Rehisism, Rizia's official religion, to cope with your loss. If anything, I became less of a believer. Meanwhile, the situation in the capital worsened. Rizian nationalists continued to protest the loss of zeal and the country's increasing diversity. Rumors spread that an anti-monarchist movement was beginning to grow once more. Your father called Hugo back to the capital to keep an eye on his council. I wonder what the country was coming to, or you reasoned the king had brought his troubles on himself. That's still my father. You wondered what the country was coming to. Outsiders also took notice of the king's decline. One of them was Axel Reinhardt, the new ruler of the Grand Duchy of Pales. He sent you an invitation to visit him on 2 conditions. You were to go alone and without your father's knowledge. This may be bad. I don't have any more knowledge about this, but I will accept. It was your first time in Pales since childhood. You were surprised at how modern everything seemed now. Duke Reinhardt welcomed you to his palace. He said he was hoping to re-establish relations with Rizia once you became king. You... I'm gonna say that I was looking forward to putting the past behind me. The Duke was satisfied with your answer. You spent the next few days getting to know him and the duchy better. Afterwards, you lied to him about where you had been. Yeah, let's lie to my father because, I don't need him acting crazy. A few days later, the king summoned you to the capital for a confrontation. He had his personal security force, the Golden Guard, survey you in Pales. He accused you of betrayal and ordered you to tell him about your meeting with the Duke. Should I explode at him for being an incompetent ruler? I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. As Vina grew into an intelligent, self-reliant young woman, your mother moved back to the capital. She called you one night, her voice shaking. The king was dying. He'd gone straight to bed after dinner. When your mother went to check in on him later, she found him comatose in the bedroom. The doctors suspected a heart attack. You rushed to see him. Your father looked pale as a ghost. It took all his effort to speak. In a hoarse whisper, he warned you not to follow in his footsteps. Your reign would be a fresh start for House Taurus, a new chance to take back the lands that were lost. He closed his eyes. Only after his funeral, gathered at the palace with your mother and daughter, did the realization begin to dawn on you. From the day you were born, your entire life had been leading to this moment. Now, it was finally here. All right. So now I am King Ramus Taurus. All right, what can I do with this? Let's see. Gentleman, the professional, pushed back, short. A swordish fedora. Okay. Okay, I could go with a top hat. Wow. Okay, the George Washington, a Wiseman's hat, or just balding. Got the navy hat there, royal cap, a crown with no hair. All right, got a lot of options here. Gonna go with the gentleman. Let's see. Okay, got a lot of options here. Maybe I should go with the Nicholas. I kind of like the idea of the beard. Attire. I want to do just kind of like a regular suit or something. Oh, wow. Red velvet. Let's see. I guess I'll just go with the gray suit. No, I'll go with this. It's fairly normal. Turquoise background. I think the backgrounds are pretty much the same as the ones that were in the regular main game. And since I wear glasses, I'm also going to have glasses. Just some thin glasses. It's actually kind of similar to the ones I got on. Yeah, let's go with this. Are you sure about your customization choices? Not at all. All right, strategic focus selection panel. Okay, as King Ramus Taurus, you have extensive power to enact and shape the course of your nation. By choosing different focus options, you can improve the strategic direction of your country. Government structure intention. Opting for absolutism would solidify monarchic traditions, concentrating power and authority within House Taurus. Alternatively, considering reform aligns with House Suzerain and the Rizian People's Party, indicating a potential shift towards wider civic participation and perhaps nuanced resource redistribution. Conversely, adhering to the status quo seeks to uphold the prevailing balance of power and some provincial autonomy. I'm gonna go with more reform. Let's do that. Okay. Economic strategy. A focus on strengthening our resource economy emphasizes leveraging our natural assets, safeguarding our long-term energy commitments. Alternatively, efforts to diversify the economy away from sole resource reliance aim for a more balanced financial landscape. Potential mitigating risk associated with over-reliance. A mixed strategy, on the other hand, would give us more flexibility. Oh, okay. So you have authority, budget, and energy. Interesting. So I'm guessing authority kind of works like how Democracy 4 has the political points and stuff like that. So you'll generate political points based on certain things. This is interesting. And then, of course, you have your budget. That's like how it was from the main game. But the energy one is interesting. Okay. Let's try to diversify things. So that way, if we do need to use our energy, we can. But again, we'll have more options. So, yeah, let's go with that. Foreign affairs strategy. In the face of global tensions, Rizia stands at a strategic nexus. Interventionism champions a proactive military stance. Appeasement fosters diplomacy with Wayland and courts the monarchy of Runeberg. Opting for the third way veers towards regional alliances, notably with Dirtia Deridia, or was that Deridia? Pales and Marilla, sidestepping dominant powers. I'm gonna go with the third way. That's kind of what I wanted to do with Swordland, where I wanted more regional powers as opposed to the major powers. Pretty sure it bit me in the ass at some point, but I do want to do that in this particular case. I also don't want to go the war route. As much as I do kind of want to see how that works out, I'm not going to do that this time around. Yeah, I'll just kind of focus on a third way strategy and building up things around me. All right. As King Ramus Taurus, you blah 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 blah. Military branch focus, Rizian Air Force. A shift in focus to the Rizian Air Force could position us for potential aerial superiority. By exploring advanced pilot training and considering an expansion of our bomber fleet, we might enhance our capacities for precision strikes and extend our bombing operational reach, aiming for a balanced control in our airspace. That's -1 budget. Rizian Army. Directing resources towards the Rizian army could pave the way for enhanced ground operations, potentially introducing advanced armored vehicles, artillery, and modern infantry and equipment. Embracing these tactics and training methodologies might elevate our territorial defense potential, providing opportunities to explore more strategic land campaigns. Okay. And the Rizian Navy. A strategic tilt towards the Rizian Navy could underscore our maritime aspirations. By evaluating the integration of advanced warship designed for naval bombardment and amphibious landing capabilities, we may set the stage for a strengthened naval presence and a broader influence in international waters, okay? Or none. Opting against a specific military branch focus could free up resources for other sectors. This choice might grant more fiscal flexibility, ensuring a diverse approach to national priorities and sound fiscal management. I actually think I'm gonna go with that, because the other one I was thinking about is the Rizian Air Force, because I think Rizia is fairly landlocked except for up here. And of course we do have the port with Pales, but then we would still have to turn around and, actually invade them in order to get that. So with us being fairly landlocked, if I'm not mistaken, again, I could be wrong about this, but with us being fairly landlocked, the Air Force seems like it would be pretty good, because we could kind of do like, the United States with the shock and awe strategy, where you just kind of bomb places or whatever, and then you go ahead and send your troops in order to deal with the rest. Now, but with having a focus on none, I think that might help out a lot more as far as the budget go, but also to not kind of, I guess, increase tensions in the area, because I'm sure with other areas around us, they're going to be like, oh, you're building up your military. That's kind of suspicious, So let's try not to invite chaos, and that would probably give us more room to negotiate. So yeah, let's go with that. Collection item unlocked, Lena's wedding ring, stat increase, budget. The angelic sounding voices of a boys' choir echoed through the great hall of Palace Resna. To most Rizians, this was the grandest room and the grandest building in the entire country. To me, it was just home. I remembered wandering between the mosaic tiled columns as a bored teenager, goofing off with Pabel in the upper gallery as my father met with foreign dignitaries. And of course, this is where I had married Lena. I leaned forward in the Scylla Aurica, the gold-plated wooden throne on which all monarchs of Rizia was coronated. The hall before me was filled with nobles, politicians, business magnates, even movie stars. A television crew moved up and down the aisles, broadcasting the ceremony to the Rizian public for the first time. My mother was sitting in the front row next to Uncle Hugo. Tradition dictated that in the absence of a king or queen consort, the seat next to me would be filled by the successor to the throne. Vina plucked at a stray thread in her gown. How are you feeling, Father? Let me see. Honestly, a little nervous. My daughter smiled. Don't worry, Father. You are the king now. The final notes of the coronation hymn, "By His Sword I Live," rang out. An expectant silence filled the hall. It was broken by the sound of shuffling footsteps. The cameras followed Grand Wiseman Saul Ignatius as he walked slowly down the central aisle, bearing a velvet cushion. He presented it in front of me. On it was the Taurus crown, a black onyx orb, and a scroll containing the words to the royal oath. Let's see. Let's look at the crown. I gazed at the Taurus crown, forged when my family took the throne 150 years ago. It was made of pure gold, adorned with two twisting spires resembling the bull's horns. Look at it, Stella. I caught my mother's eyes. She gave me a conspiratorial wink. Recite the oath. I took the scroll off the cushion and read aloud from it. I hereby pledge myself in service to the great nation of Rizia and its people. I promise to guide my country with a steadfast hand, to uphold the laws of this land under Saint Weric's watchful eye, to wield the sword of justice and the shield of mercy in equal measure. All this I shall do until the day I die. I lifted the orb off the cushion and ran my fingers across its smooth surface. It was inlaid with a trio of diamonds representing the three royal houses of Rizia: Taurus, Azaro, and Sazon. May Saint Werix fill you with his Holy Spirit on this day, as he did your ancestors before you. With trembling hands, Grand Wiseman Ignatius lifted the crown off the cushion. I could spot a gray hair still clinging to its inner rim, my father's. May you keep the promises you have made before God and your people. The crown came down on my head. Its heaviness surprised me. By the divine power vested in me, I proclaim you sovereign king of Rizia. Arise, King Ramus. I stood. The choir broke into On Shores of Gold, the Rizian national anthem. I'm going to stop them and make a speech. Sounds like a terrible idea. I held up my hand for silence. The choir stopped singing. Confused whispers ran through the crowd. I know this is highly unusual, but we are living in unusual times. Uncle Hugo had been looking bored up to this point. He now sat bolt upright. When my father died, I made a promise, one that I would like to share with you all today. Under my rule, Rizia will be transformed. We must break with tradition and enter the 20th century. No. We must stop letting our past grudges dictate our future. Hugo stared, intensified. Only when the people of Rizia are given a voice can a new era begin. Oh God. Thank you all. The hall fell silent again. My uncle was the first to speak. Glorious Axa Rizia. Glory to Rizia. His shout reverberated throughout the hall. The attendees hurriedly broke into enthusiastic applause. The choir restarted the national anthem. I passed my cousin Rico in the second row. He kept his head down and didn't acknowledge me. As we kept walking, I recognized various other members of Rizia's three royal houses, as well as monarchs from distant kingdoms. The entire back row was reserved for the Rumbergian royal family and their entourage. I could feel my sister-in-law Beatrice's eyes on me. We reached the end of the hall, where a spiral staircase led to the palace balcony. Come, Vina, let's greet your future subjects. My daughter beamed and put her arm through mine. We walked up and up the stairs until we came to a door. I stepped out onto the balcony. The sunlight was so dazzling, I was almost blinded. When my eyes adjusted, I regarded the scene below me. Thousands and thousands of people were packed onto the palace grounds, some waving the Rizian flag, others the House Taurus banner. Just beyond them, at the gates, the police easily held back a small pocket of protesters. I paid little attention to them. I was focused on the noise of the crowd, an overwhelming roar that gradually cohered into a single chant. Salentinus Axa Regu Novus. All hail the new king. All right. Oh my God. What is that's a lot of situation updates. Okay. So then, that was our coronation. Jesus. And there is a lot to do. So let us see. Let's kind of beam out for a second. So I'm guessing all of this is Rizia. Also, apparently I was a filthy liar for saying that we are fairly landlocked. We are not fairly landlocked. We do have some landlockedness, but not as much as I thought. And then of course we have a port over here. And then a pales down here. I mean, it's a very small area. I can see that being a very important area, but at the same time, I'm not going to fight a war over this unless I absolutely have to. And of course we have Morella. We have Dirtia and Wayland. I don't guess we can take Wayland over. Plus, that'd be kind of rude, considering they helped us. All right, let's see some of these reports. Read the report. Hubertus Taurus appointed acting Duke of Valenquirus. Also, I am so sorry if I mispronounced these words. I mispronounced a lot of words in Suzerain. I mispronounced Suzerain. So I will try my best to pronounce things as bestly as I can. With the governing seat of Monquise open after our ascension to the throne, it was decided that our cousin Hubertus, the closest Taurus relative living in the province, would assume the position until if and when Princess Vina is appointed Duchess. In a private message, he sent his assurances that he and his family would remain servants of the king. Oh, I'm sure. Coronation honored at Camp Domus. To mark our coronation, acting War and Security Council Duchess Lucida Azaro, together with head of the armed forces Carlos Robles Azaro, led the military forces in Camp Domus in special exercises. Most other high-ranking members of House Azaro were present at the festivities, with the exception of General Thaddeus, who remains in the hospital after suffering a stroke. Sounds like Thaddeus. Wasn't there a General Thaddeus in something? I can't remember what, but it does sound like General Thaddeus. Or something Thaddeus. Okay, maybe Tullius. I think it was General Tullius. Anyway, House Azaro. I'm not going to read all of these because I checked into the amendment update. I played it a little bit, as I mentioned earlier. There is a lot of dialogue and there's a lot of new things added, a lot of lore added. However, if you would like for me to go over this, let me know in the comment section. I will do so. It will not pain me to do it. Not too much at least, but yes, I will do it. Anyway, House Azaro was the ruling family of the city of Monteclar. Okay, and the province of Cardis Monteclair. It is the second most powerful of Rizia's three noble houses. Its sigil is a pair of crossed swords. Its members are descendants from Duke Bradus Azaro, himself a descendant of Rizia's original ruling family, the Resnas. He was granted control over the province of Monteclar following the founding of the Kingdom of Rizia. The family's rule later extended to the neighboring Cardis region. The Azaro family established close ties with the neighboring empire of Meridia, as well as the ruling Rubas family. Though several daughters married Rubas princes, the family never managed to take the throne. It came the closest during the War of Rizian Succession, when Duke Domus Azaro and his wife Anna vied for control over the kingdom with Rizia's two other royal houses. In the war's early days, the couple founded a military training camp in the mountains next to their fortress. This is now Camp Domas, Rizia's largest army base. Since the end of the war, a member of House Azaro has served as the country's war and security counselor. In addition to their contributions to the Rizian military, the Azaros have made heavy investments in technology and manufacturing. Okay. All right. Now I do want to see the other houses. Let's go back. Yep, that's the family. Where would it be? Oh my God. There's Jesus. There's just so much. House Sazon, okay? House Sazon is one of the three noble houses of Rizia. Its members are descended from the ruling family of the province of Brennus, and its sigil is a cactus. Okay. Originally one of the several noble families that alternated control over the city of Isa, the Sazons increased their sphere of influence during the War of Rizian Succession, when Duke Fido used his blood ties to the royal family to lay claim to the throne. In the following century, the Sazon family retained control of the province of Brennus, though no members made it into the central government. In the years leading up to the 1925 uprising, House Sazon was rumored to have been colluding with Arcasia in undermining the monarchy. This culminated in the betrayal and execution of Duke Lucas Sazon, as well as the subsequent exile of his wife Angelica and the loss of the Zile region to Wayland, weakening the family significantly. However, the Sazons were allowed to keep their hold on Brennus' minor cities, including Salabes, Jales, and Argno, after swearing an oath of fealty to the crown. Historically, the Sazons are known to be patrons of arts and education, diverting significant funding to the University of Isa as well as cultural venues throughout the Brennus and Rizia Imperi. Okay. And then, of course, last but not least, House Taurus. House Taurus is the current ruling family of Rizia and the most powerful of the country's three noble houses. It controls the throne as well as the province of Monquis and the city of Isa. Its members are descended from Henricus Taurus, a Volgish prince who married the Marquis of Monquis in the early 1100s and established himself as ruler of the city-state. With the help of intermarriage with the Volgish Empire, his dynasty maintained a stronghold over Monquis throughout the Marquian era, and upon the foundation of the Kingdom of Rizia, assumed control of surrounding Valanquirs. The family managed to take the throne in 1810 following the Duke Willem Taurus's arranged marriage to Ariana Rubus, daughter of the ruling Rubus family, and the subsequent War of Rizian Succession. Since then, rulers from House Taurus have also held the title of Duke or Duchess of Valanquiris. The family has kept control of Port Drazen for 4 generations, and assumed the governorship of Isa following the uprising of 1926. They are supported by the majority of Rizians, despite a dip in popularity during the reign of Valero the Frail. Much of House Taurus's wealth still comes from its control over shipping through the port of Monquis, as well as abundant agricultural land and vineyards, and its part ownership of the Rizian Oil and Gas Company. Okay, and I remember striking a deal with them in the main game. Okay, let's see what else we have. Kingdom of Runeberg. Read the report. Queen Beatrice and Grace send formal congratulations. Yeah, this is a new thing. I don't think this was originally in the main game, but now it is a thing. Upon returning home from the coronation ceremony, Queen Beatrice Livingston sent an official message of congratulations on behalf of both Runeberg and Grace, the Guild of Royal Allies for Commercial Exchange. She welcomed us to the ranks of the world's remaining monarchs and attached a personal note expressing her sorrow that her sister did not live to see our coronation. All right. More things. Sazon send formal congratulations. The Sazon nobility has issued their formal congratulations on our coronation. Family members hosted an outdoor screening of the ceremony at Arena Salabes, attended by citizens from across the province of Brennus. Merlin Prime Minister Alma Sultana sends congratulations and a gift. The newly elected Prime Minister of Merla reached out to us after our coronation, sending her best wishes and desire to work more closely together, especially on matters regarding the Melptium International Trade Zone. Okay. Supreme Wise Man Asmol sends congratulations from Dirtia. Durian leader Jorga Asmol has sent us a message of congratulations following our coronation, as well as his assurance that God is with us, despite our differing interpretations of the Rukis religion. I am never going to pronounce that right. He invites us to join him for a friendly conversation in the capital of Nial at our leisure. Okay. Yeah, we read that. So I think that's pretty much everything. We have read everything. All right, so what is our first thing here? Coronation celebrations, early morning at Pale's Resna. Let's go with this one. The morning after my coronation, I was woken up by a knock on the door. It took me a few seconds to remember where I was. The royal bedroom on the top floor of the residential wing of the Palace Resna made the one in the Torres Palace in Monquise look shabby. Ornate gold trim covered the walls. I was alone in a bed that could easily have slept four. The knocking on the door continued. Yes. The door swung open. Pable walked in, beaming. After I'd left for university, my friend had worked his way up to chief butler. It was hard to believe he was now head of my royal household. I bet he's going to turn out to be like a spy for the revolution or something like that. Just watch. Pable Adria. Rise and shine, your majesty. I knew this day would come, but it still feels odd having you wait on me. Pable chuckled. You'd better get used to it. Everyone answers to you now. He drew back the heavy velvet curtains. Sunshine flooded the room. Romus Taurus, King of Rizia. You've come a long way since we were kids. Not really. All I had to do to get this job was wait for father to die. Pable's eyes flooded with compassion. I know you two didn't get along by the end, but it's never easy to lose a parent. It's complicated. I don't know what I should be feeling right now. There's no should. You feel what you feel. He opened the doors of my armoire and began pulling out items of clothing. You have quite the packed schedule this morning. Why don't you eat breakfast with the girls while I get your outfit ready? Won't you eat with us? Pable shook his head. I ate in the servants' quarters before coming here. There are hierarchies to be observed now that you're king, I'm afraid. Hierarchies are meant to be broken. You're the head butler, not a common scullery maid. I insist you join us next time. If the king commands it, I can hardly refuse. I haven't forgotten. By Maravula, un oxit solu. I recognize the slogan we made up as kids. Two tides rise, one sun sets. This will be fun, just like old times. Enjoy your breakfast. Still in my dressing gown, I headed downstairs. In the eastern dining room, an enormous breakfast spread had been laid out. My mother was already sitting at the table, digging a spoon into a single grapefruit half. Really? That's all you're eating? How do you think I stay this trim, darling? Despite the early hour, my mother was already in her full makeup. She dabbed at her lips with a napkin. That was one cheeky speech you gave yesterday. The papers are having a field day. Forget the papers. Did you see the look on Hugo's face? How could I have missed it? Her face grew stern. You ought to be careful, though. The country takes its royal traditions seriously. Your father and I learned that the hard way. What did he say to you before he died, by the way? I never asked. Um, he said not to make the same mistake he did. He must have been talking about zeal and Pales, his great follies. It's a pity he didn't live to preside over my homeland's big return to Rizia. But soon you will. Oh God. We have one of those type of moms. Only 1 year to go until the treaty expires? I'm looking forward to that day. But don't let my nattering on keep you from eating. A king needs energy. She handed me a rosetta, the traditional rice and quince custard tart. The crust was exceptionally flaky. Just then, Vina came bonding down the stairs. Isn't it a lovely morning? My daughter gave a kiss on the cheek to mother, then me. I nearly got lost on the way here. Grandma, why didn't you tell me this place had such a big library? Eat now, darling. She eagerly took a plate and started piling it high with pastries. My mother clicked her tongue disapprovingly. Not too many of those. The sweeter the taste, the wider the waist. Don't you agree, Ramus? Oh no. This is gonna be terrible. I will say, one thing I do like about this already was this was kind of the main complaint that I had about the main game. It's not that this is gonna sound dumb, but to a certain degree, I kind of hated our cabinet. Not because they weren't good, but because they were just too damn good. You know, if anybody knows anything about politics at all, you know, most governments are terrible in every form of fashion. So I would expect a place like Soylent to be rife with, you know, terrible people and stuff like that. Now, having said that, there's a little bit more nuance there because there are a lot of terrible people and it really depends on how you do things. But for the most part, these people were great and the best of all things. And I like so far that it seems like that these people they aren't great people. They aren't the best of anything or anything like that. They're royals. Now again, I may get to the military folks and they may be the genius strategists and stuff like that. But I do hope that it is a situation where it's just like these aren't great people and I really gotta keep my eye on them. So now mother, she's not gonna like me. She's definitely not gonna like me. Um Let me see. That's nonsense. Vina, eat as much as you want. Vina took a bite of a Rosetta and gave an exaggerated sigh of pleasure. My mother rolled her eyes. Suit yourself. Now, if anyone in this palace could make a halfway decent strudel, that would be worth ruining one's figure for. We ate for a while in silence. Vina looked lost in thought. Finally, she spoke up. Father, I wanted to ask you something. Oh God, you're gonna ask me about marriage, aren't you? You know that I'm 18 now. Um, I'm gonna say she's got to think about where to study. Yeah, I know. You've got to start thinking about where to study. That's not quite what I had in mind. I was thinking I'm old enough to accompany you to your council meetings. Oh, so she actually wants to be involved in the politics and stuff. It's unusual for a female heir to join the council, I know, but didn't you do the same when you were my age? Um, no, actually, my father invited me, but yeah, my education was far more important to me. I mean, I'll let her do it if she wants to do it, but still. Well, this is what's important to me. Liza the Great is a huge legacy to live up to, after all. Fair enough. Hmm. Let's see. You shouldn't have to worry about living up to anyone's legacy. You're great in your own right. Um, yeah, let's go with that. I was thinking about saying this. Greatness is something you're born with, My daughter, you can't glean it off of others, but yeah, let's go with that. That's very kind of you, Father, but Liza was the most beloved queen in our history. Of course, people will compare me to her. You're getting ahead of yourself, sweetheart. The crown is on your father's head right now, not yours. She looked at me sharply. And what your father needs is for your lovely little face to be seen at balls and ribbon cutting ceremonies, not hidden behind council doors. All right, yeah. Me and my mom are gonna have problems. Great. Um, that's an outdated image of a princess, isn't it? If Vina wants to get involved in politics, I don't see why I shouldn't let her. It would mean the world to me, Father. You want to spend the best years of your life cooped up in that den of snakes. The council isn't some wise, all-knowing entity. Everyone on it's only looking after their own house and their own stature. And God help you if you get in the way of either of those. Hmm. I've always found it odd that we entrust the country's direction to a handful of privileged nobles. If choosing when to ignore the council will be part of my future duties, I need to learn how to do that too. I promise it'll be like I'm not even there, and I'll step out in public as much as I can. Vina looked at me with pleading eyes. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. That's the other thing about this game. There are things that you can do where if you say things a certain way, it will come back to bite you. I'm not trying to tick my mom off, but yeah, she can come to meetings. My daughter's face lit up. Thank you. I can't wait to start. Oh, I'd better refresh myself on Rizian law. She pushed her plate away and dashed back up the stairs. Once she was gone, my mother lit a cigarette. You do realize that she'll be nothing but a liability to you in that room. Hmm. One more Taurus on the council is an asset, not a liability. I hope you're right. The clock struck 9:15. My first council meeting was starting soon. I excused myself from the table. As I was leaving the dining room, my mother cleared her throat. He always believed you'd make a good king, you know, even if he didn't always show it. Hmm, I won't just be good, I'll be the best. Oh, God. Didn't I get sorely nuked? Let's hope that this turns out a little bit better. Sorry for the spoiler. I headed back upstairs to fetch Vina. It was almost time to go. Okay, country relationship updated. Republic of Lesbia. Country relationship updated. Newest book. What? Oh, okay. So we have relations and stuff like that. Okay. They're neutral. And then, of course, my daughter's codex here. Princess Vina Taurus is Rizia's Lady Regent. She's the daughter of King Ramus Taurus and the late Queen Consort Lena Taurus, née Livingston. She was named after Vina Livingston, the great aunt of King Alfred of Rumburg. At age 10, she narrowly survived the boat accident that killed her mother. Under pressure from Queen Mother Estella Taurus, she was subsequently shielded from the public eye until coming of age shortly before her father's coronation. Little is therefore known about her private life, other than her keen intellect and love of horseback riding. Okay? I think it's going to be uncomfortable when we start getting to the point of, oh, you're going to have to get married and stuff. Okay, let's see what we have here. Baron and Baroness Valenquer reaffirmed loyalty after absence. Security forces were dispatched to the estate of Lord and Lady Julio and Octavia Torres following their conspicuous absence from our coronation. In the past, the couple was suspected of spreading false rumors discrediting King Valero's claim to the throne. However, they testified that their absence was due to a bout of food poisoning from improperly prepared shellfish and enthusiastically reaffirmed their fealty to King Ramus and his family. Suspicious. 1950 to be an exceptional wine year. The Contuevo family vineyard in Qualis has begun bottling its latest batch of Cavil, the first to follow last year's record harvest. They have named it Ramus the Red and claimed 1950 will go down in history as an exceptional year for Rizian wine. Okay. Coronation celebrations. Oh, we have a report. House of Delegates hold first allegiance ceremony. For the occasion of the first Rizian coronation since the founding of the House of Delegates, Majority Leader Daria Durava called a special session where members took an oath of allegiance to the crown. Each parliamentarian was asked to stand and affirm his or her commitment to serve under King Ramses' reign, which with dedication and integrity. Thank you. Don't believe any of you. All right. The Rizian public is eager to celebrate their new king's coronation. Investing in lavish celebrations could make a good impression and earn their favor. I mean, we do have the budget. We have quite the budget, actually. However, I am highly suspicious because I feel like this is a lot. This is a whole lot. I think what Sorlin gave you like 3 or something like that. Yeah, I'm suspicious. Is this going to be like for the entire DLC, or am I going to gain more? I'm a little suspicious about that. Things happen all the time, and I still remember the crash in Sorlin and all the crap that came with that. I kind of want to do it in all cities, but I also feel like that's going to be a lot. Maybe I'll do just like a small parade, because I do want the authority. I have 8 authority, but the budget. That would already leave us. Well, that would leave us with 8. But that would give me 9 authority. All right, let's go ahead and do it. All right, now let's see what we got. Political overview with the Grand Vizier. The stairway to the Royal Council chamber was longer than I remembered. I took a moment to catch my breath in front of the carved oak doors. Hurry up, Father. It's not very kingly of you to be late. A true king is never late. It's the others who are early. After collecting my thoughts, I pushed open the door and walked in. I'd only been here once or twice. I gazed up at the high domed ceiling with its skylight that shone down into the center of the room. Below it, a tall backed red velvet chair towered over an oval mahogany table. To my slight surprise, the room was empty except for one man, my uncle. Oh God. When Hugo saw me, he sprang to his feet. Welcome, Your Majesty. No need to stand on ceremony with me, Sir Hugo. Please sit. Hugo sat down with a smile. You'll meet everyone else soon enough, but I thought a private chat with your Grand Vizier would be in order first. His eyes traveled to the doorway, where Vina was still standing. Although it seems it won't be as private as I was expecting. Are you staying, Princess Vina? My daughter gave a shy nod. Yes, Uncle Hugo. I'm sitting in on the King's Council meetings. She's going to learn by experience. I wish I had done the same. Hugo frowned as he processed this new information, then broke into a smile. By all means then, Your Highness, have a seat. Vino walked over to the table as I made my way to the red velvet chair. Once we were all seated, I turned to my uncle. How have you been? Busy. Managing the royal transition is a full-time job in itself. Between that and visits to Rico and Izia, I haven't had a day off since the funeral. As I listened to him, my eyes drifted towards the back wall. It was covered in portraits of Rizia's previous kings, including a newly painted likeness of my father. My dear brother, I do miss him, but I dare say it's time we had some fresh blood on the throne. As Valero never got a chance to fill you in on his royal duties before he passed, I prepared an overview for you. Would you like to hear it? Yes, please. As the king, you're both Rizia's head of state and commander of its armed forces, as well as the de jure governor of Rizia Imperi, Valenquires, and the Pales administrative district, and the islands of Calicubus? Sure. Call that Cali from now on. Like your father and grandmother before you, you alone have the power to shape this country by passing royal decrees. As in tradition over hundreds of years, each new ruler has passed the sovereign transition and clemency decree to start their reign. The kingdom will be expecting your decree very soon. I'm going to be nice to him because he scares me, at least for right now. The decrees will play a significant role in my reign. Thanks for your advice, Uncle. It's comforting to have your wisdom and experience guiding me at the start of my reign. Your humility is appreciated, but remember, being king is about making hard decisions, not just following advice. Hugo reached for a neatly rolled parchment lying on the grand table. With deliberate movements, he unrolled it, revealing the prepared royal decree. The intricate script and the seal of Rizia was glinting under the chandelier's light. I and the rest of the Royal Council will advise you to the best of our ability and put forth decrees and state decisions for your approval. Ultimately, the king has the final say. However, you should not neglect the House of Delegates, the legislative assembly my brother set up to appease the opposition after the uprising. I'm gonna say... Should I just say, what about it? Or should I say, yes, that was one of his better ideas? I kind of don't want to give him insights to what I'm thinking. What about it? It still works the way he intended. Rizia has the appearance of a constitutional democracy while power remains firmly in the hands of the king. His Majesty Valero presided over the last election in 1949. The Rizian National Coalition secured a House majority, as always. They propose decrees and issue official approvals or disapprovals of the laws passed by you and the council. As Grand Vizier, it's traditional for me to attend their sessions and pass any relevant information on to you. Let's see. What do you think would be the consequences if I ignore them? Officially, there are none. Unofficially, I'd advise you to take their input into account. Thanks to that coronation speech you made, I'd say you're already off on the wrong foot with the RNC. Do the delegates really represent the will of the people or just the nobility? Hugo made a cutting sound. Do not discount the importance of the nobility to this kingdom, my nephew. Keep them satisfied and commoners' lives will be better for it. But if you want a self-styled man of the people, look no further than the opposition. More specifically to their new leader, Manus Saison. Hugo gave me a meaningful look. The opposition elected a Saison? Not just any Saison. As you know, Duke Lucas Saison was executed for his role in your kidnapping and the 1926 uprising, while his wife Angelica was sent into exile on Calicubus. While she remains under strict orders not to leave the islands, no such restrictions were placed on the son she gave birth to shortly after her arrival. He opened a folder and took out a picture of a clean-cut young man. Vina leaned forward to peer at it. Upon finishing his studies in Kairout, Manus returned to the mainland and proceeded to win the largest supporter base of any opposition leader we've seen thus far. His promise to give a voice to the common man seems to be resonating with the populace. Part of it, at least. I'd like to meet this fellow. This is gonna not turn out well, I'm guessing. You'll get your chance. Hugo closed the folder. While I'm on the subject, a word about our houses. House Taurus. Our family currently controls the province of Valenquirus as well as the city-state of Isa. How's Valenquirus doing now that I've left? Stable as always. With you on the throne, me as Grand Vizier, and Rico and Isa, the governing seat has been filled by Hubertus, a distant cousin of ours. Oh, wait. So you, being shifty, are in control of an area, and your son is in Isa, the capital. Oh, God. This is going to be a problem. I feel like you're going to be one of those, what's the guy, Otto Hightower from House of the Dragon? You're going to be one of those types, aren't you? Of course, Princess Vina is eligible to take his place as the reigning Duchess. He nodded at my daughter. In a few years, maybe. I still don't feel ready. You're already smarter than I was when I became Duke, but it's your decision. Vina blushed. Thank you, Father. Hugo tapped his fingers on the table. In any case, Your Majesty, I don't expect any trouble in Valenquirus during your reign. It remains the wealthiest of Rizia's provinces, and the least affected by crime. Keep their lives comfortable, and the locals there will stay loyal to you. What about Rizia Imperi? We control that too, don't we? Yes, Port Dresden and its metropolitan area are controlled by the central government, and therefore House Taurus. You don't need to worry about pleasing our house in this region, though. It's more crucial to retain the favor of the major corporations that are based here. Doesn't House Taurus run any corporations? Some minor relations do, but most of our house's wealth comes from our land and natural gas holdings. The Pale's administrative district is also under the jurisdiction of Rizia Imperi since we reclaimed it in the early 20s. What's really going on in Isa? Has Rico been well received as Duke? Hugo's face hardened. Isa has been difficult since the Sazon Rebellion, even more so now that native Rizians are in danger of being crowded out by migrants. He spit out the last word with some distaste. Considering the circumstances, I believe my son is doing just fine. Is Sue Amina still based there? Yes, and I shudder to think of what Isa would be like without it. Got it, that's all. Hugo nodded approvingly. As for the other houses, House Sazon. Yes, aside from Isa, which is now under Rico's governance, all of Brennus is still their territory. The nobles there swore fealty to the crown in exchange for keeping a hold on their cities and their estates. But the return of Angelica's boy could test that loyalty. He is their rightful duke, after all. He lost that title when his father orchestrated my kidnapping. He cannot be a duke and claim to represent democratic values at the same time. I kind of want to say that, but I also kind of want to... this is what I'm pretty much thinking. I wouldn't blame them for siding with him after House Taurus stole Isa from them. Again, I kind of feel hesitant about telling him my thoughts. Sure, he cannot be a duke and claim to represent democratic values at the same time. A contradiction, isn't it? He discourages his fellow delegates from using the title, but has yet to officially renounce it. Lest we forget, Wayland is scheduled to return Zeal to Rizia next year. The Sazons expect the region to become part of their province, as it was before the uprising. I could use it as a bargaining chip. Stay loyal to the crown or no zeal for House Sazon. Now you're thinking like a king. And finally, House Azaro? Precisely. The rulers of Cardi Monteclair and the stewards of the Rizian military. Oh, I really shouldn't piss them off. You must be aware of their patriarch Thaddeus's poor health. The general suffered a stroke shortly after the King Valero's death. Yes, shame I never got to know him. His daughter, Lucida, the Duchess of Monteclair, volunteered to take his place as War and Security Counselor. You'll meet her soon. You should also know that factions within her province have begun calling for the return of Pales again. Why? Cardis Monteclar is large and powerful enough. No matter your feelings on the subject, I advise you take the house's concerns seriously. Hugo glanced at the clock. Well, I hope that was helpful. One more thing. As you're aware, a few years before your father's death, he reinstated the Golden Guard. Oh, the Golden Guard is an elite unit specifically designated to protect the king or queen of Rizia. Traditionally, the unit consists of 12 guards. So they're like the King's Guard, of course, from Game of Thrones. But, normal stuff for a king. Though that number has fluctuated depending on the needs of the individual monarch. They are recognizable by their gold-colored attire. Once a solid gold breastplate, today a simple blazer. Though recruited by the War and Security Counselor, they are answerable only to the country's monarch. The Guard was founded in 1650 by King Felicio Rubens, shortly after the Kingdom of Rizia was established. The most promising recruits from the military and provincial law-keeping forces were given extensive special training in combat, self-defense, and investigative skills until they were deemed fit to serve the king. The first instance of the Golden Guard enforcing security outside Palace Resna was in 1820, when recently crowned King Jonas Taurus hired members specifically to investigate potential threats in Monteclair and Brennus provinces. By the time Liza Taurus was crowned queen in 1860, the Guard had nearly 50 members and far-ranging powers that superseded those of domestic security forces. Concerned about their reach, Queen Liza discontinued the Guard, opting instead for plainclothes bodyguards with normal police training. The institution was resurrected by Liza's son, Valero, in 1945, who ordered the reopening of the training facility outside of Camp Domus and the recruitment of 12 guards assigned to protect the royal family. Since then, it has been led by Titus Gordian. Oh, okay. Titus Gordian is the captain of the Golden Guard and the primary security officer of the King of Rizia. Born in Port Trazyn, he gained moderate fame in the late 1930s as the championship boxer Titus Ironjaw, known for his stamina in the ring and ability to take a punch. In the early 40s, he was hand-selected by Camp Domus military recruiters to join the newly reinstated Golden Guard, becoming one of the dozen bodyguards to King Valero. Within a few years, he rose to the position of captain. Okay, so he's the Lord Commander. Let's jump back into this. Right, the personal security of my father. And where are they now? Here, sir, ready and able. For the first time, I noticed a man standing in the corner of the room. He was wearing a tight-fitting gold blazer that barely concealed his muscular physique. How do you not notice this man? Meet Titus Gordian, captain of the Golden Guard. He and his men have been keeping a close watch on you since the coronation. I'm pleased to meet you, Captain Gordian. Call me Titus, sir. Titus and his dozen men have been training in the upper echelons of Rizia's elite military and police academies. Each has sworn an oath to protect the king and his family at all costs. And how do we know they can be trusted? What if someone gets to them? I have no wife or children to threaten, Your Majesty, and I receive a paycheck so large that bribery would be of no use. He bowed to Vina. She looked a little flustered. But didn't Queen Liza discontinue the Golden Guard because she thought they made royals look elitist, and because she trailed off? Because she thought they were getting too powerful. It's why our current force is less than a third of the size it once was. Your father always had a fondness for Rizian tradition, so he spared no expense in bringing the guard back, albeit in reduced form. It humbles me to be worthy of such an elite unit's protection. The humility is all mine, sir. Thank you, Titus. You may wait outside the chambers until the meeting's conclusion, sir. Why are you ordering my guard around, sir? Titus nodded and swiftly left the room. Noon already. Shall we and the young heiress break for a glass of wine before the council convenes this afternoon? I don't drink, Hugo. Hugo raised his eyebrow. Is that so? Since when? I could never stand the taste of alcohol. I never knew. You should remember that it is highly untraditional for a Rizian monarch to refuse his country's national beverage. Duly noted, but this isn't a formal occasion. I respectfully decline. Thank you for the offer anyway, Uncle Hugo. My pleasure. He turned to look Vina in the eye. I know how overwhelming the move to the capital can be, Your Highness. If you ever need someone to talk to, remember you can always come to me. Vina smiled politely. It's very kind of you, Uncle Hugo. Yes, too kind. No offers of advice from me? I wouldn't presume to know better than you, Your Majesty. But of course, you can always come to me with questions as well. Vina finished jotting down a few notes. The three of us packed up and left for the morning. Okay, so we do have some decrees available. We have 3 actually available. Housing for Poor Initiative, Sovereign Transition and Clemency, Excavation of Topaz Ancient. I can't see the rest. So, Resonant City. Okay. And now here comes the spending of money. This is going to be a problem because I don't know how often money is going to continue to generate, but I'm also guessing that it's going to be kind of hard to maintain all this, and we have a shorter amount of time. However, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. In the next one, we'll start jumping more into the actual politics of this and actually going ahead and signing decrees and such. And of course, like I said before, if you want me to go ahead and go through the codex, I will do it. It is quite a lot. It is a whole heap of things. As you can see, there's the businesses, there's the council, there's the family, there's the foreign leaders, there's the others, and there's of course the party leaders. That's right, Uwald Afonso is currently the president, if I'm not mistaken, of Swordland. So yeah, this is because this is set before the main game. So like I said, I will go ahead and get into that if it is wanted, but of course we'll do this in the next episode. So if you like the video, like the video. If you'd like to see more content like this, subscribe. I have a lot of things on the channel, and I will have many other things in the future. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.